And joining us now is Eric Fudali. He's an attorney who has represented some of Jeffrey Epstein's accusers. Eric, first, your reaction to what we're hearing from the president this morning, talking about pardons of Maxwell, saying essentially not ruling it out. He didn't answer anything definitively, right? And calling it all a hoax.
You know, just the mention of a pardon is so offensive to the victims. You know, the victims have been through so much, and they have been wronged at every step of the way. For decades, the 90s, there was sort of the sham nonsense FBI investigation. Of course, then in 2008, Alex Acosta gives Jeffrey Epstein this sweetheart deal that allows him to continue to abuse women just after that. Then, of course, Epstein is finally arrested. You know, the victims think, OK, now there's going to be some justice. Of course, he's allowed to escape accountability by killing himself. And now, finally, there's been one person convicted in all of this. It's Ghislaine Maxwell, who's convicted of child sex trafficking, a heinous crime. So just even the notion, the discussion, the possibility of a pardon is so offensive to the victims. It's so disheartening. And it just continues this decades-long pattern of re-victimization of the victims. And
now Maxwell was given this limited immunity deal in part to take part in these new meetings and conversations, answer questions of Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General. Should that have happened?
I mean, if she wants to give information, I'm okay with that. You know, of course, on behalf of the victims, and I've represented a lot of victims of Jeffrey Epstein, you know, we do want exposure. They do want accountability for those who facilitated, for those who worked with Jeffrey Epstein, for those who enabled the most prolific predator of our time. There is a desire for exposure. There is a desire for closure. So if this leads to some exposure of those who enabled Jeffrey Epstein to be able to have this reign of terror on these women for so long, I'm in favor of that, but not in exchange for a pardon, not in exchange for any actual leniency towards Ghislaine Maxwell's sentence. I believe she, and I think I speak on behalf of most victims, believe that she should serve absolutely the fullest extent of her sentence.
We don't know much about what has come of these meetings that happened late last week, but we do know it was the president's former criminal attorney, now current deputy AG, talking with the co-conspirator of the president's former friend who was accused of such horrific actions. Do you trust anything that comes out of the DOJ or the White House at this point?
You know, especially when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, it's hard to trust anything. You know, as I stated before, he has gotten away with everything. For decades and decades, people have known what Jeffrey Epstein is doing, and he's gotten away with it every single time.
So do you trust this White House to get to the bottom of it and to be transparent with the American people?
Unfortunately, I do not. I do not trust anything that's come out of anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein, especially as it relates to this administration.
Congressman Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, a bipartisan duo, have teamed up, and they're trying to force a vote in Congress that would require the DOJ to release all the Epstein files, minus the stuff that would be, you know, private identification of victims specifically. Take a listen to how they're differing, however, on the Maxwell issue. Watch.
Do you think Ghislaine Maxwell should be pardoned or have a commutation of her sentence, her 20-year sentence?
No, I don't. She should testify, but she's been indicted twice on perjury. This is why we need the files. This is why we need independent evidence.
If she has information that could help us, then I think she should testify. Let's get that out there. And whatever they need to do to compel that testimony, as long as it's truthful, I would be in favor of.
So Massie there suggesting potentially a pardon could be justifiable if they get more information from her.
I disagree strongly. I believe it's absolutely not justifiable. Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of child sex trafficking. She had a full trial in front of a jury of her peers, and she was convicted. There was absolutely no justifiable reason for Ghislaine Maxwell to have her sentence reduced in any capacity. And the fact that we're even considering, or someone's considering on the basis of her perhaps giving some information, there's a lot of information already out there. They either should release the files or they should not. But relying on Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony in exchange for a pardon is just a ridiculous notion.
Eric Fudali, thank you so much for the conversation and for coming in. We appreciate it.